And here they come down the hill. And they call this turn 9. It's not really a turn, is it? It's just a jink to the right, but it is a turn all the same. And it then leads quite steeply down to turn 10, 10A as it's called. And that's the heavy braking and major overtaking option there. So they all dive in. And hopefully, we'll see if the safety car comes off, because if he does, we'll be racing in our group 5, 7, 9, and 11. Safety car is in, and so we'll go racing. Here we go. And away they go. Lewis Cooper Jr. leads the field and is off to the races in the number 70. Jim Booth right behind him, and a good start also by the Danny Sullivan number 4 car of Gary Gould in the Frisbee GB2. Up the hill and over the crest they go. And already starting to build on that. Panos flying already. And that makes a beautiful sound down the back straight. And I know Ben's looking forward to this one. A small group, but it's a good group.
Yeah, it is. And I brought my friend Dustin Hodges up here, who works for Silverhair and Trans Am, but also for Cahill, and he is going to be our open wheel and kind of purpose-built race car expert today. So,
Bring
Dustin, what are you seeing?
Well, you're putting me on the spot here for that, aren't you? I'm the expert now. Uh-oh, here we go.
You are in this room.
Yeah, I tell you what, I love these cars. I've always been an open wheel guy, sports racers, that kind of thing, and these guys are great with these F3 cars, these F2 cars, that kind of stuff. It's amazing to see them on track, and they do a great job. They're fast. It's fun to watch. I mean, this is one of my favorite things about this SVRA weekends is you get to see all these older cars. It's great.
Well, I just explained that you get to see the history of motor racing. It doesn't matter who wins the race. You get to see history.
Like how often do you see a Frisbee Can-Am car passing an LMP3 car?
Right, exactly.
That is gorgeous too. I love those old Can-Am cars. It's I saw them first time at Elkhart a few years ago in real life. And it is amazing how loud they are. If anybody hasn't been out to see these cars, you definitely need to get out to the track and check out SVRA weekends, because these things are amazing.
Yeah, you feel them.
Yes,
you hear them, but you feel them. So the green car, just behind the number 70, that is Jim Farley. We just saw him in that Cobra, but that is the CEO of Ford Motor Company. Just
That's insane, isn't
newly named. I watched him on Jim Cramer's Mad Money, and then now here he is racing with us and doing a little R&D in that Lola with the Cosworth engine, and Lola and Cosworth are both in the Ford family, so he is now making his company proud.
He can't go against Mark at this point, can he? Or he'll really be in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, what engine was in that Lola there, but I guess he's kind of stuck in that one, isn't he?
And it says Ford. It's a Ford Cosworth.
Yep.
And that's Danny Sullivan's Can-Am car. We call it the Frisbee. And then the orange and white car is Dave Handy in the back. So tell us the difference between what we're calling the open wheel and Can-Am and then these like S2000 cars.
Well, they're very similar underneath. If you take the body off an S2000 car or a Can-Am car, it's going to look a little similar. Basically, they're all tube-frame cars, open wheel, and the sports racers, but they just kind of put a little bit of fenders over them. Now, they're not fenders like you're going to see, Trans Am, they go beating and banging, but these guys they can't really touch wheels much because it's just fiberglass. So it's just kind of streamlines it a little bit. A Formula car, it's funny enough, is actually one of the least aerodynamic cars on the planet because they've got all that stuff hanging out there. These Sports 2s and things like that are definitely really slick. But the same kind of deal, the Sports 2 is very similar to Formula Continentals, and you guys have a few of those running around here as well. Same engine package, that 2-liter motor. And they're really just a fun car. You can throw them around. You really don't have to. They're not too heavy, so you really get to play with them.
And that's Dave Handy right there, who owns Sasco Tires. He provides tires to almost all vintage racers, at least the smart ones. But great racer. And then he's leading the field in S2000. That car's wearing a tuxedo, so I guess this is a black tie affair for that car of Brent Knoll,
well, it's the
which
finale.
is just
You've
fantastic.
got to dress up for the finale, right?
Yeah, this is a black tie affair. So what in the world I'm a vintage person. What in the world are these Formula cars that are out front that sound like laser beams when they pass us?
Well, the Jim Booth and it's an F3 car basically, and it will light up the field. Yeah, they are extremely fast. F3 is a training ground for Formula One. So you have F3, you have F4, F3, F2, F1. So that if you want to look at it like that, you're a step below. Kind of like a NASCAR truck equivalent if you want to go to the NASCAR world. So they're extremely quick cars, definitely hard to handle, and you definitely have to know what you're doing to keep them on track.
Interestingly, Jordan Messick was racing earlier. He's been in the Formula Regional Championship, and that is effectively the American equivalent of Formula 3. It is exactly that, with the Halo and the modern FIA, and a chance to win Super License points. And it's only been around the last couple of years since the Halo came in, but it's growing quickly, and I'm really excited for America.
I've been to a few of those events, and they put on a phenomenal show.
Oh, we got a pass right here. Look at this.
Oh, look, I just said they can't go. You can't beat and bang, and there they go, beating and banging.
Yeah, you know, that's the commentator's curse, right? Whatever we say, they'll do the opposite, and that's gonna put a tear into that tuxedo. I hope that's not an Armani tux.
It's going to have to change up a little bit before the awards ceremony, I guess.
Yeah, so that's Brent Knoll. He's in a 1983 Tiga SC83, and he's racing with Steve Conson. And Steve Conson, as an MG guy, has just some of the coolest MGs, but now here he is in a 1985 Swift DB2. But, you know, Dustin, the reason I asked you here is because I've seen you do some commentating and some podium celebrations in your own race series. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I work for a couple different teams and stuff, but one of the things that a lot of people seem to know me for is the Formula 1000 stuff, which is the North American Formula 1000 Championship, 1000cc superbike motors in basically open-wheel Formula cars. So it's a great series. We run on FRP weekends, which I know that's a different series. I guess I'm allowed to say that.
But
yeah,
we promote all racing.
So that sounds almost like the way that Radical's gone, which is to take a motorcycle engine and then effectively create a race car.
Very, very similar.
And how does that go? Where did it come as a concept?
It's over 10 years ago. Some club racing guys that had Formula Continentals decided that they were tired of spending 15, 20, 30 grand on motors, and they found a way to put a bike motor in it and go faster. So it kind of evolved from there. And, yeah, it's a very, very similar. The Radicals have the same concept. They have multiple platforms. You can kind of keep going up the game. But we kind of stick with just that bone stock CC motor. But, yeah, we have a great time, and we do a lot, like Ben was saying, we do a lot of the podium stuff, and we always do live things across all kinds of social media, just like I do for Silver Hair and Cahill and all these other people, just trying to help promote racing in general. And I've been in love with the sport since I was a little kid.
It's funny, people talk about motorcycle engines and how that would be inferior. And it's like, I've been around motorcycle racing for a long time, and I've seen people do way over 200 miles an hour on a motorcycle. So the power-to-weight ratio, especially with those engines you're talking about,
here we go.
They're plenty powerful. Go ahead.
The Panos right there is passing Gary Johnson, another Tennessean, right there in the 1986 Shannon Sports 2000. Gary's from Knoxville, Tennessee. And really good racer. He races a little bit of everything. It's one of the first times I've seen him out here in the S2000 class. But he was, I think, with us at Circuit of the Americas. But then that's Lewis Cooper Jr. just making his way through, I think, the field in that 2007 Panos. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, sir.
And then it's Ligier.
Ligier, that's good.
See, as a Tennessean American, I'm like, what's a Ligier?
A Ligier.
So I had to have training on that. I'm from Tennessee as well.
So where is the DRS zones here at Road Atlanta?
Well,
every time I see a car like that, I'm waiting for the back wing to just flap open.
It would be nice coming out of turn 7, headed towards 10, if DRS and they could jump up about 10 mile an hour. But yeah, I don't think we have that technology here in SVRA. We need to lobby for that.
Yeah, we could, because you know, if some of our drivers, and it's not beyond them to buy ex-Formula One cars.
No.
We've seen that with some of the Benettons and Jordans racing with us. So now if somebody, you know, this car right here looks like Lewis Hamilton in a way. It's got the same livery as Lewis Hamilton.
Nice word.
Yes, he's
I've taught him the word livery out of
for like
Tennessee.
4 broadcasts. I was saying livery, like a real American. But here we are. So we just try to have fun up here, Dustin. So tell us about these cars. What's Lewis Hamilton driving today with us at Road Atlanta?
This is quite interesting. I like the paint job on this. I think that's an upgraded paint job because from what I can tell, that car is a few years older than when Lewis was running in F1. So I think that I think that might be a pretty big Lewis Hamilton fan there in that car.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a slick-looking car. Again, that's another one of those F3 cars that is been running probably in the European Championship, I would say, with the way the halo and stuff is on that.
Yeah, it looks like an FIA F3
Now, is that the same Jim Booth that's racing with us in Radicals this weekend?
I think it could be.
Well, I got to tell him. I got to tell on him a little bit. So, Nancy Becker, who does a lot of catering with us at different vintage races, a big fan of vintage racing, and one of my favorite people in the paddock. I went up to her and said, "Tell me who your favorite is in this Radical series." And without even hesitating, she's like, "Jim Booth." And I'm like, why? And she just said, just true gentleman, great racer. And look, here he is now racing with SVRA and Radicals this weekend, looking like Lewis Hamilton.
And out front like Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny looking at the halo, and for people who don't watch single-seater racing, they'll be looking at that halo going, what on earth is that? Well, it's something that came in after Felipe Massa and obviously Justin Wilson had an accident.
I was there.
Yes,
Sad
day. Good friend of mine.
That was bad.
And, you know, this is what single-seater racing used to look like, but now both Indy and Formula One have a form of protection, one in a halo, one in the screen or the shield, as they call it, the aero shield. And, you know, talking to the halo guys now in Formula 4 and Formula 3, they don't notice it. It doesn't worry them.
I've heard that too.
And I've got used to it. They say they don't even see it, and when we see the onboard shots, actually, Liberty in Formula One have done a great job of using it as a graphic structure almost.
Well, if you notice, a lot of these Formula cars, you'll see that they put the radio antennas directly, almost right in front of that. So the guys are kind of used to having that little thing right there. You're never really looking straight ahead. Your eyes kind of bend around it, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, and I know you have that depth of perception where if you have an obstacle in your way and you don't have, you know, your brain needs to focus not on it, it will blur it out effectively and make you forget it.
I know that when IndyCar was testing, they decided to go with the aero screen because the guys on the ovals, that actually moved into their line of sight.
Correct.
Because they were so banked.
And
so they
the night races,
the same
the lights as well, the glare coming off them. I know, yeah, exactly.
So what kind of engine would this Panos have in it?
I'm not sure originally. Right now, I think it has a Judd engine, which is what a lot of the
V10.
I know
Judd.
the French father and son guys, their F1 cars, they've gone to those Judd engines. Very reliable, very strong package that you can put in.
To you,
Jude. Yeah.
Now I got to brag on this guy.
I could do
We call him
anything.
DJ, and it's funny we call him DJ Jans, but his name is David Jans. And he's a part owner with Tony Pirelli in the Trans Am Series, racing in that 2012 Ave Riley AR2 LMP3 car. And he's another one of those guys in our paddock that's just having the time of his life.
Yeah.
As we're on our final lap.
It's really good to see the people that are invested in the series getting out on the track, and that they kind of get to see both sides of it, as opposed to, you know, people. A lot of time drivers complain that the series doesn't listen to them, and this is good for him. You know, he gets to see what it's like to be behind the wheel and have a better viewpoint.
Yeah,
very true, very true. Indeed.
And it's always good for series owners to be fans of racing and enthusiasts as well. And he's out here just having a blast.
We'll show some enthusiasm for this man, Lewis Cooper Jr., because he's about to take that Panos down the hill for the last time and take the checkered flag here in our group racing for the Group 5, 7, 9, and 11 feature race 1, and does it in style in that Judd engine. Panos, and wins by a country mile. Jim Booth will take second place in the Ligier JS F3 car, and then James Farley, the CEO of Ford, I can't believe I'm saying that, is here and takes a podium in his first outing. How about that?
Just the nicest, most approachable person. And, you know, again, just out here doing some R&D. And that's what SVRA and vintage racing really is. If people ask me what my job is, I always kind of say camp counselor. We're concierge for these men and women drivers that are basically, in my mind, on vacation. So I try to be the camp counselor, and it's my job to make sure that they're having the time of their life. And that's the approach of everybody here on staff. Even the people like Alex and Rick who have to also set rules, they're trying to give the best customer service because they could go anywhere on vacation.
But do they get upset when at night you build a fire and play guitar to them? Or you don't want, that's part of your
I don't do the kumbaya. But, you know, we do
these
trust
guys
falls.
are heads of industry.
We do trust falls at registration just to get them, you know, incorporated. No, I'm kidding.
Give them that corporate feel.
Yeah, but, you know, it's a lot of fun, and that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to be the Disney of motorsports and selling them an experience and hope that they come back time and time again.
The Disney of motorsports.
That's interesting, isn't it?
See?
I think it's more like the summer camp of racing.
The Camp Kumbaya of motorsports?
So, Lewis Cooper Jr. wins in that Panos DP01. Jim Booth takes second place. James Farley taking a brilliant third place, seeing as he hasn't raced with us before. David Yance takes fourth place. Gary Gould, Dave Handy sixth, Brent Knoll seventh, and Steve Conson in eighth position. Gary Johnson in that Shannon Sports 2009 overall. My thanks, gentlemen.
Dustin, thank you for joining
Yes.
us. And please come up again and
Please
lend
do.
us some more of your expertise. Thanks again.
Well, I hope I lived up to that.
Yes, you did.
moniker.
Oh, you're
And
awesome.
yeah, I got to get back down to work here with Silver Hair. Trans Am's getting ready to roll out here in a little bit.
And
So
best of luck to
Thank you,
guys
Mr. Matos.
enjoy that, and thank you for having me. I'll be back later this weekend.
All right,
See ya.
thank you, sir. Thank you, Dustin. So we'll take a short break. More action coming up from SVRA in a moment. From Road America, stay with us.